Fascinated with DXing, he enjoyed collecting post or QSL cards from those he'd spoken to. By 1992, he put radio aside to focus on work and family. Coming back to the hobby in 2016, he again went after DX, and thanks to the digital age, computers, it made it easier. He also got involved in doing special events, including 13 colonies and 12 days of Christmas, among others. He is currently the coordinator of such activities as Fleet Week, New York City, NYC, West Point Scout Camporee, and World Autism Awareness Week, the largest international cooperative on-air activity in amateur radio with operators in over 30 countries. He is also an administrator with the popular Parks on the Air program, boasting 74,000 plus members worldwide now. Specifically, he is the DX liaison for POTA, bringing qualified expedition logs into the POTA system to make the chasers very happy getting new rare parks. He has been on expeditions in the South Pacific, Caribbean, Bering Strait, and Central Africa. He has achieved many awards while DXing and contesting and is at 299 countries at this time. James' mode of choice is phone, sideband, AM, and FM. And he has become very proficient at high QSO rates thanks to his POTA, special event, and contesting experiences. What sets him apart from other operators is he makes it fun for himself and those who call, often injecting humor into contacts even at the high-speed expeditions require. Because of this, his unique New York accent and operating style is recognized around the world. The global recognition has led him to speaking or telling DX stories at the major ham gatherings such as the Friedrichshafen in Germany, something like that. Hamcation in Florida, Hamventions in Ohio, and now here, and Visalia. He's excited to be here with you. I met him at Dayton, and I said, somebody from Brooklyn, New York, has got to come down here and mesh and sync up with us Southern guys and gals. So I turn the floor over and welcome James Gallo, KB2FMH. James. Yeah. And if you cannot see, please feel free to move your chairs around and position yourselves in a place that you can see very well.
Thanks a lot, Bruce. And thank you, folks, for coming. Is it loud enough? As a DX group, I'm compelled to let you know something. He mentioned another SK. And being that we're all DXers, it's a very small community, tighter than people would imagine. So I'd like, before I start speaking, because I could talk forever. Hopefully I'll be around forever. We hope, because I got a lot more places to go and more stories to tell. But we lost a friend last night, unexpectedly. Well, kind of waiting for it, but you never really want to say, we know he's going. And in our small community, some people stand out. November Tango 2 uniform, Lou Dietrich, was an avid expeditioner extraordinaire, former chairman of Indexa. I don't have to spell it out. You should all know what it is. And if you don't, go to the website and join today, because we do support that. But Lou took ill suddenly with a terminal cancer. And, you know, we all felt bad thinking, all right, he's going to suffer for a while. But this morning, bright and early, checked my phone to get a message from Otis, the president of Indexa, saying, Lou's gone. And then there was a post on Facebook and an email sent out by the Indexa themselves. And, of course, I believe Bernie from the Daily DX sent that out to all subscribers. So if we could take a moment or a half a moment of silence just to think about Lou and thank him for all he's done to support DXing humanitarian projects to the places he's went, mentoring youth so they can take over for us, because we're all going at some point. And if nobody takes it over, DX is out the window, and Dave will have nobody to want DXCC challenges or the new awards that I'm sure will come in time. So just for a moment, think of Mr. D and say, farewell, brother. See you soon. Not too soon, but we'll see you up at the big station in the sky, 7-3. Now, with that, this is the first time I'm doing a presentation where I can't see the slides because they have some fancy shenanigans. So I don't remember what's next because I do this a lot and have a lot of things. So I'm going to have to work with you to say, okay, that's it. I can advance them, but I'm used to seeing what's next, and you'll see that some of them have notes. I don't have the notes memorized. So I said, no notes. I left my reading glasses over there, so we're going to go with the flow. So I did start in 1985. I transitioned from CB radio to amateur because the FCC made me do it because of the TVI issues in a densely populated Brooklyn neighborhood with 11 meters and a lot of power and a focused antenna. How many of you know about the cubicle quads? I had a Moonraker 4 that was an 11-meter. I think Avanti made it, and it was huge, 4-element cubicle quad on a roof of a 2-story house in the densely populated Brooklyn town during the analog days. I came through telephones, televisions, toaster ovens, and the FCC said at up to 10 blocks away that one woman called and said her son hears my voice in his mouth because he wore a night brace. And it was just the right portion of a wavelength that it would resonate in his mouth and vibrate, and he'd hear me. So they said, go legit or we're taking it all. And I had some good stuff, ham stuff, using it on 11 meters. But let's get past that. So as for DX, I love DX, and what got me hooked was I was calling CQ after getting general in '86, as Bruce mentioned. I wanted to talk. I didn't like CW. I learned it in the Boy Scouts. I did it to get a signaling merit badge. I also learned how to do semaphore. For any of you old Navy guys, you know that could be a lot of fun too. But I preferred the talking. I like to talk, as you'll learn. And I'm calling CQ one day on 15 meters, turning the Moonraker, which I converted to 10 and 15 from 11. And I'm pointing it somewhere east from New York. And I'm calling CQ, and I would turn it 15 degrees, call CQ, turn it 5 degrees, go up and down the 15-meter band. And I heard a voice come back with what I thought was a partial call sign. Juliet Yankee 1, KB2 Fox Mike Hotel, this is Juliet Yankee 1. Do you copy? In an unusual accent. And I said, JY1, I hear you. Complete your call. What's the rest of your call sign? That's it. And I said, well, what do you mean that's it? After the number, there's got to be some more letters. He said, no, there doesn't have to be, my friend. Very polite, cordial man. And I said, well, how I don't have, all I had was the local ARRL call book. There wasn't an international web-based thing because no internet then, so I had no idea. I didn't buy any of the other country calls, which I think they were around, but I was still a rookie, 2 years in now, and I didn't know anything. So I said, how can you have such a short call? He said, it's for the country of Jordan. I said, so they only have 2 letters and a number? He said, oh, no, they have full-size call signs, but I have this one with just the 1. I said, well, you're pretty lucky. how do you get that? And he said, well, I'm the king, and I make the rules. I'm the king, and I make the rules, and I didn't want to say a lot, so I got JY, which is the prefix for Jordan, number 1. I said, who's number 2? He said, at that time, we don't have a 2. We have a 1. It's me. What are you using? You sound very good. I said, I'm using Drake twins, the B twins, T4XB, R4B, with an L4B amplifier. And he said, no wonder. I love Drake. I'm using a TR7 with an L7 amplifier. So we had that in common. We talked for maybe 5 minutes, which seems like forever. And as soon as I stopped, I said, he said to me, I'm going to have to stop now because I'm hearing things. People were calling over me. No spotting clusters. The spotting network back then was you call your friend on the phone and say, go to this frequency now, if you can. That was it. But people hear, people tune around, they listen, they heard him. Apparently he was a celebrity at the time. I had no idea. First time I heard him out there, I didn't know anything. And that got me started in liking it. So that was one of the very first DX contests. I mean, I talked at some Puerto Rico and South America. My first QSL card that I got was from Curitiba, Brazil. And I always remember that as the first card I got. And I said, what do I do? And I went to Manhattan, New York City, and I went to one of those tourist shops, and I bought a bunch of I Love New York type of postcards, like 10 for $1. And I got a post office box across the street from a plumbing shop I worked for on East 23rd Street. And I started my QSLing using New York City postcards to a P.O. box. And that led me to where I am today. Now, of all you guys who chase DX, how many of you have been on expeditions besides the one I know? How did you go on your first time? How'd you feel on the first one? Very excited. Were you younger then or recently? Recently in the last 20 years? 2009. Okay, that's kind of recent compared to our vintage. I may not look it, but I feel it. I got to Earth in 1961, so I'm not a kid. But I had a lot of fun doing things, so I may have aged inside. My first time to go after doing, chasing it and doing these events and parks, and you get to go to a special park and transmit, and you become the focal point, and everybody's calling you. And that's how I developed my ability to rip through pileups quickly by omitting a lot of the nonsense. No chit-chat. I don't care where you are, what your name is, what weather is near you, how close or far you are to some landmark. It doesn't matter. We're looking to get you in the log because we all know conditions can drop like that, and then the party's over. So the more you get in the least amount of time, the better job you're doing. So I developed the ability to run a high SSB rate, and sometimes I don't even give a signal report unless somebody asks or insists. And then I try to just say, you take a 5.9 because it doesn't really make a difference. You want to be in my log. That's the goal, especially with DXing. But everybody says 5.9, and you get used to that. I got in trouble once for not saying it, just saying next, because next is easier than 5.9 for me. But so one day in, I think it was 2022, a Sunday afternoon in June, I get a phone call from a good friend of mine who lives in Queens, and I think as DXers, most all of you know Adrian, Mr. DX. He got his CQ Hall of Fame a couple of years ago, thanks to my nominating him, because I think he deserves it. I call him Mr. DX, or Waldo, because if you look at him and you remember the Where's Waldo, he's Waldo, with the black hair, the blue shirt, and the glasses. All he needs is the stripes, and he's Waldo. So he called me and said, James, an opening came up on an expedition to Alaska. You want to go? We've done a few special events together, he and I, locally. So I said, yeah, I want to go. Where to? Alaska. He said, well, it's not really Alaska. It's an island out in the Aleutian chain. And a Canadian got COVID, and he can't go. So we have an opening. I'm interested. I said, yeah, okay. I'll put you in touch with the team leader, a fella in Washington, N3QQ. We talked for a little while. Adrian vouched to me. After saying yes, which I shouldn't have said first, but I did, then I said where, and he said this island way out at the end of the chain, second to last U.S. island. The next two after the last one, which is Attu, it's the military base. We were on Kiska. The next two are Russian-owned, and then northeastern Siberia, right there. You know, you could see it with binoculars. I said, how much? He gave me the figure, the buy-in. It ended up being a little bit more because it always is a little bit more. But I said yes, so that's it there. Kilo 7 Kilo was the call sign. I picked it. They wanted to use the KL7 RRC, RRC being the call sign for the Russian Robinson Club, which does a lot of islands in cold climates. I said, that's a mouthful. If we're going to do, you want a high rate, shorter is better. K7K, Kilo 7 Kilo, or just K7K. You can't mistake K7K. You don't need to use phonetics all the time, which worked out well. Being that I'm a POTA guy, I learned that it's an Alaska Maritime Marine Wildlife Reserve and part of the World War II historical area because there was battles being fought in 1942. So we made a special event for the 80th anniversary of the Battle in the Illusions, a POTA park, and of course an iota because it's always been an island. And I designed that, and I put the little cat. You know why the cat is there? Who sees the cat? Kiska Island. Cat. Anybody put it together besides you, because I told you? Kiska is the word for cat in Russian. The Aleutians, as part of Alaska, were owned by Russia up until a relatively short time ago. When did the U.S. buy it? Sometime in the 40s, 50s? Recently, right? Comparatively recently. So Kiska Island, I put the little cat, little ghosted image of a cat there, and people liked it. It worked out really well. So, down is up, right? Left is right. Who knows about the 901? Clockwise is lower frequency. This is motion. Can I get it to move? Okay. Who's watched The Deadliest Catch? It's like that. It's real. That's me on the bow of the 70-foot fishing boat that was in season 4. Our captain was there in season 4. That's calm waters for it, but Adrian and I slept in the bow bunks, and when it got nasty, we were getting tossed up and down. I ended up spending most of my time either out on the bow or up in the wheelhouse with the captain because that was the exciting part for me. I could play radio anywhere. As a Boy Scout, I've camped in plenty of horrible conditions, but the boat ride out there, I mean, look at it. There's nothing forever when you're out there. Once we got to Kiska Harbor, we had to make trips with that. I refer to it as the bathtub with a motor. It may not give its true appearance, but I think the inside is only 6 feet, and it's about under 3 feet wide. And it's a 5-horsepower motor. No, 5 horsepower. That's Tim Tillman, as you can see, the call signs. I don't need to describe them. And there's Waldo on the right. 30-plus trips with that to the island. There's another slide. So that's where the boat's anchored, and we're going to that beach to set up. 30 trips. A fella named Alex, KL5, a CX, Charlie X-Ray. Alex Seaberger, pilot for Delta Airlines. Small guy, he could fit in the boat with all the stuff. He made all the trips. He brought us and all the equipment back and forth with the help of the captain after we were all there. Let's let this play out. Now, you know what? It's all the same. So that's a lot of the stuff that we had to bring. As you see, there's a lot of pieces to it. You might know our buddy Hal. Hal has been elected or chosen to take the place of Lou Dietrich, our lost brother, for the DX Advisory Committee. So let's hope he does a good job with that. As we are loading the stuff, we met in Anchorage, Alaska. That's a picture of an average creature that roams around in Anchorage, a moose. Yuri is the North American liaison for the Russian Robinson Club, and there's Mr. Smiley. He and I are discussing antenna placement, knowing we're going to be on the beach, where to put the VDAs, do we need any radials, what else do we do, as Yuri looks on. That's the galley of the boat. Can you hear me if I turn like this? Yeah. I hate to not face you, but I don't have it in front of me, so maybe I'll come this way so you guys can look at me talk for a while. We got to be equal, right? The captain let me drive. Years ago, I used to fish a lot in New York, and I made a friend who had his own private fishing boat, and we would go out at night. And to make it easier for him, he helped me get a license to operate a boat in navigable seas. So when I mentioned that to the captain, he said, "You want to take the wheel on this one?" I said, "I don't know. It's a lot different than the calm waters off New York coast." He said, "Water's water. It's all the same. Follow the controls." When I did boating in the late 70s, early 80s, it wasn't like that. All computer controlled. Now, my hand's on a little joystick. They do have the wheel, hence the call. I think I broke the thing. The wheelhouse, but everything is computerized. You could see straight. You could see down, around you, to the sides. We knew where every rock and pebble and fish was in that ocean. It was really cool. As we approach, we're heading into the cove area. The cove is in here, which was a collapsed volcano that a piece of it opened up to the sea, which lets you in. It's a few hundred meters wide, but it's a huge cove. And that volcano is still active on Keska. And there's a picture of the campsite we set up. I was telling the story here about the walking up from, let me point to the big one in the middle. So going up this slope, you see where the footprints are. It's about a rise from where I'm standing, it's maybe this high. Every step we took up, you slide a half a step back from that volcanic sand. It's like pulverized glass. But once we got in there, we were okay. The tent you see here was built after the one that you barely see, got ripped to shreds in a storm that blew through a valley. That way is Russia, back that way. This way's U.S., that way's Russia. A 70-mile-an-hour wind storm with horrible rain came during the 2 hours of darkness that we have. We have darkness from about 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. out there, and then it's just light. It gets brighter, dimmer, but it's light for 22 hours. It started during the night and lasted about 5 hours. Adrian and I were in that bunk because we were bunkmates, and we were holding it down to not get blown away. But there was a lot of these tubs, these 27-quart Home Depot or Lowe's type tubs. There was a few of them in that tent with us, and our weight and those things helped keep it from blowing us off there into the beach. But it still was pretty scary to have to hold that tent down while you're getting soaked, because they're not four-season tents. That's like a summer tent. It had an open mesh roof that just a rain fly was over it. So once we lost that, it was gone. We're just getting poured on in our sleeping bags, and shaking like crazy. My bag got soaked. His bag did a little better. Adrian was testing his sleeping bag and equipment for the coming that January. This was in July. Then in 6 months, he was going to Bouvet for 3Y0J, which he ended up swimming to shore with. But he had the waterproof bag, and his sleeping bag was waterproof, and he was field testing his equipment because the weather here is as bad as Bouvet, And the water in the Bering Sea is rougher than the Southern Ocean. When it gets nasty, I mean, you could have these rogue waves that are 70, 80 feet that just wash over the boat. But we had a nice 70-foot steel boat that the captain's been out there 45 years. He knows his stuff, and he knows how to navigate in and out of the waves and when to hug the shore of an island when the waves are really bad, because every island has a rise. And as you get the rise, the waves change. So that was our campsite there. Another view. These views are from a drone that Hal Turley, W8HC, right here, is controlling the drone. So VDAs. We had a Hustler vertical here with radials. We had a stepper crank IR, but with the motor that would raise and lower for the bands, and it would also pull out the counterpoise with it, which was pretty cool. That worked well for a while. But you could see the remnants of our shredded tent here near the food area. There's our bathtub, some stuff we didn't use. In the distance is a wrecked Japanese war boat, Japanese Navy ship that's been rotting there for 80 years. There's good old Hal, the chef. I spent time with Hal in American Samoa later on. We'll get to that. He's a great cook, by the way. Him and NL8F were in that tent during the storm. There's the tent. This is before the storm. And he said that they both had to sit against the wall to keep it from getting torn apart and all the equipment. But they had a lot of equipment in there also. So they were sleeping and operating at the same time in there. I try to do a little fishing because I figured, hey, I'm out in the Bering Sea. Maybe I'm going to try to fish. I didn't catch anything, but, it's not catching. I fished. I didn't catch. So, but I went and I bought that special Penn travel rod, which was a pain in the ass dragging it around on the planes from New York to Anchorage and then Anchorage to ADAC and then managing it. But I said, I got to fish in the Bering Sea. I won't swim or go into the beach or go in pools, which I'll get to, but I wanted to fish because I was out in the Bering. I didn't catch anything. We fished again later, but didn't catch it there. Now, this was a World War II hot zone, that island, fought between the Japanese, the U.S., and Canada forces. And after they left, these things remained. Anti-aircraft guns, lots of them, just sitting there. Poles from telegraph, here, some more here, telegraph and electrical power. Two-person submarine that the Japanese left. Stripper clips with 30 caliber or 8 millimeter Japanese rifle shells. Other bullets down here. These bullets are for those guns, the smaller of those. That's a bigger caliber. That, I think, shoots the 4-inch. The first one was for these shells that are here, and these are just strewn all over the place. That's a close-up of the Japanese ship. I got this from the web, but you could see the Japanese symbols for the name, the same way the U.S. Navy has their identification. That was theirs. A downed plane was abandoned there. Pretty cool stuff to see. So when you do DXing, it's more than just let's play radio. You get to see some interesting things if you go to the right place. If you go to the wrong place, you could get in trouble, and we're getting up to that. So here's our last day, and we have some calm water and clear skies. Miraculously, day one, we had a window of good weather to land. The day after that storm, which was, I think, the third night, the next day, it cleared up. It calmed, calm. Sun was shining, which is rare. The captain of the boat said, out there, if you get 12 days of sunshine a year, you're lucky. We got 3 in a week and a half. We were very lucky. He was amazed. But that's a drone picture of our boat, pretty far. Beautiful boat, though. And after that, within a short time of that, I'm asked to go to Cuba. As a U.S. citizen, me going to Cuba isn't an easy task. Myself and, again, Yuri, the RRC liaison from Washington, were the only Americans going. 2 Russians came, and we had to bring 2 Cubans in to get our our license for their 30th anniversary of the Russian Robinson Club. So we went to an island called Cayo Coco. Of course, I said yes to that immediately because, hey, now, with Kiska Island under my belt, I'm practically a professional, right? You would think, hey, if you could do that and suffer through that stuff, this is going to be nothing. This one ended up being at a luxury resort on the island after Yuri and I embellished our reason for going as a humanitarian project to help the Cuban radio club who invited us to learn how to set up quick radios in case of an emergency, because they were reminiscing about what happened in Puerto Rico prior when it got washed over, and ARRL sent or put out a call to help and get volunteers to go there to help with communications. So that was our excuse. Well, we're going to go teach the Cubans how to do it. Meanwhile, they put up the VDAs and inverted Ls faster than we could have imagined at the outskirts of this 540-some-odd room luxury resort on this island about 10 miles north of Cuba proper on a man-made road that Castro had made by just dumping rocks continually till he got from the island, from the main island to this satellite island, and then paved it. It's only maybe 20 feet wide, one lane this way, one lane that way. A 12-inch water pipe brings fresh water to the island, and they deal with waste locally by underground seeping. So that was pretty cool. There's one of the Cuban guys, Raul, CO8ZZZ, working CW like a champ, and I'm sitting there with my lovely headset, thanks to Tim Duffy, a gift to me for Kiska for my first expedition. Tim gave me the Pro 7, and he said, Terry said, what color do you want? And I said, I'm going to black and green. If I drop it, give me red so I could find it if I drop it. You give me a blue one or a black one, I may not see it, but that red one stands out. I've come to hate it because it's heavy and it crushes your head. I now use exclusively a cheap $35 COS headset that I got from Amazon with a mic that's equal or better than that. So I'm going to be selling that on QRZ. If anybody wants their head squeezed, buy it. I'll be giving it off cheap because I got it for nothing. And that's an ICOM 746 Pro I'm using, and an Expert 1.3 amplifier with an assortment of antennas out there. That's the view from the porch. Now imagine, this is what I talked about. I walk by that pool and another one towards the back every day, 3 times a day to eat at the buffet, and then go back to the radio. Never once did I consider let me swim in the pool, because I'm there to play radio. I'm not there as a tourist. It doesn't matter where I go, as long as there's a radio and an antenna and a restroom and food. I'm happy. I don't care about that. So I caught a lot of flack from my girlfriend and other people who said, I can't believe you were there and you didn't go in the pool once and you weren't out swimming in that sea, which is the Caribbean Sea. Beautiful, crystal clear. I could see it, but it's not something I'm interested in. Big chess, kids were playing the almost life-size chessboard. Just some different shots so you could see where we were. Now what we all want to know, of course, the antennas. We had a distant inverted L for 80, 140-meter vertical that we shared with a diplexer so we could both use it, or 2 people can use it. The 2 Cuban guys stayed in that room up top together, and they put a homemade 6-meter Yagi to make the Magic Band folks happy. And they did pretty good with it. CW and digital, not too much talking. I did promise my girlfriend I would go in the water. So I had some shorts, cargo shorts. Yes, you got to make them happy, right? Some cargo shorts and pair of Crocs. So I said, I would eat lunch in, where is it? Over here. There's a little hut where they serve quick lunch, beers and sodas. So I would eat lunch there because it's a short walk back to the shack area. So I promised her I'd go in, and just so I could say I'm in the Caribbean Sea while I'm in Cuba. So, 2 two magical things for me, to be there and to go in that ocean. I went in to take the picture to show her. I'm in the water. There's the beach. There's the land. I'm a smoker. I don't know why I still do it, but I do. And in my cargo pocket of my cargo shorts were my cigarettes and a wave. You see how that's a little wave? They constantly come slow, but every once in a while you get the surprise one that's a little bit bigger than the half a dozen that come before it. And then it's a cycle. Just as the Earth's spinning, it's the cycle of water movement. Well, needless to say, I lost a pack of smokes. And I cursed her, saying, you made me go in the water and cost me a pack of cigarettes, and they don't sell my brand in Cuba. I had to buy some United Kingdom cigarettes because they don't do business with the U.S. So I was pissed off at that. But she said, well, at least you went in the water. I said, I only went in for the picture. Then I raced back to the radio and to get my other cigarettes. So that's that part of that. That adds to the fun for me. You know, it's not all about just radio, antennas, cables, what you use. There's some fun. That picture is from my terrace, which was right above, second floor, right above the shack room, which was on the ground floor on the beach. I had a great view. I had to take a picture of that. Here we are at the buffet. The two Cubans are on the extreme, myself and Yuri, having a lunch in the all-you-can-eat buffet that was open all day till 10 o'clock at night. I didn't know about Cuban money, so when I got there, I met the two Cubans picked me up at an airport 4 hours from this place because I had to fly from New York to Miami and then to Camagüey, Cuba. If any of you have ever been there, Camagüey's, it's not close to this place, but it's a nice airport. Anyway, they met me there with a taxi. We took a taxi to the tune of $400. But I said, I need to get some local money, and I had to check in to an Airbnb because the U.S. government says even if you go, you cannot support the Cuban government. The Cuban government owned the hotel that we were in, and the hotel, government-owned, was in the government-owned national park. Ooh, another POTA adventure, because even though we're in a hotel, it's government-owned in the park, within the national park boundary. So I made it another POTA adventure to make a lot of people happy. But we had to be prepared to say we stayed at a private lodging. So Yuri had made arrangements with a woman and halfway between to rent some rooms in an Airbnb for us two for 10 days, $30 a night. So it cost $330 to make or to fabricate our official lodging. Meanwhile, at the hotel was only $62 a night for that, again, 5-star luxury hotel on the island, because the money difference between U.S. and Cuba is unbelievable. So I said to Raul, give me, here's $50 U.S., get me some local money so in case I want to buy something in there. He got me, the woman at the Airbnb, he talked to her in Cuban, she gave me 19 500 peso bills, brand new, crisp, for $50, a U.S. $50 bill in brand new condition, because I had went to the bank to get new money because I understood that these places prefer fresh money. I was leaving these 500 peso bills as a tip, thinking it's like a $5 bill to me, until Raul caught me and said, you're out of your mind. They'll kill you for that. You got to stop. Leave $1 every other day, $1, American. So, all right, I ended up doing that. Let me move forward. On the way out, one of the Russian guys who came from Siberia, RL9L, decides he wants to do satellite work, and he's up there on the roof of the building in his pajamas enjoying the satellite. And he did pretty well. He made a couple of 100 Qs from there. That's us doing the obligatory picture on standing on a dried up lava mound, a little bit west of where we were at a restaurant on the beach. But that's sharp as hell, very dangerous, a lava outcropping there. Next, within a couple of months of that, we're now going to American Samoa for another adventure for RRC. You see that Century Club donor on top of the call sign. Again, POTA, because I made friends with the national park people. I took the QSL card image, which has the sand, and for the people who donated $100 or more, I said, let me do something special for them to make them feel appreciated for the $100. The $100 isn't spit. Now it's less of spit because of the economy issues, but even still, that 2023, $100 is good money. So I said, I'm going to get some local sand, which I did, and glue it onto the sandy part of the QSL card. That's one of those 4-panel foldy ones. And I also picked up a bunch of shells and some coral, which I had to mail back to myself through the U.S. Postal Service because you're not allowed to take them. And I didn't want to get caught getting on the airplane or have them in my luggage to get in trouble. So I packed them in a postal flat rate medium box, each one wrapped in paper towels, then enclosed in a towel, packed in tight, and I mailed it through a postal partner who doesn't ask you what's in it and doesn't x-ray it. They just take it, they charge you a lot more than the post office would, and they send it without questions. So I was able to get those things back and send one of each with that card to the Century Club donors and made a lot of people very happy with that. So consider that. When you're gonna do an expedition, if you go, recognize the donors who are unique. I mean, $50 is still good money too, but you can't have the half a century or who's the guy on the 50? Grant? You could have the Grant Club if I think it's Grant is the president on the 50, right? But Century Club sounds better than half or semi-quintennial, but for half of 500. So Century Club, they got the special card and the piece of American Samoa. Authentic sand, volcanic sand. You could see the dark specks and either a coral or one of those shells that I spent a good amount of time washing them out after collecting them from here. That was my only time on the beach in American Samoa, too. So if you say, James, you were in Pago Pago, in the South Pacific. You didn't go in the water. I took a shower. The water comes from the ground. So, yeah, I was in South Pacific water, but I just went to get the shells. That's the place we slept in and ate in. Beautiful lodgings. Full-size washer-dryer. I was in charge of laundry and dishwashing. Hal shopped and cooked. Great cook. But that's the conditions we had. We made friends. I made friends with the national park people because when I knew where I was going, I wanted to go to the park. So we had to make friends with them. That's the woman is the manager. There she is there. This guy's Joey Cummings. He's one of the people who helped the fellas in part for the Swains Island. If you guys remember Swains a couple of years ago, they have to start from down there too, in the 8 area. So he's a really good guy. He manages the radio station, and with him I left the DX Engineering banner that they get whenever they donate. They send you that humongous vinyl banner that you have to pay an extra $50 to bring it with your luggage. I stopped that, by the way. I had made a little flag, like the flag we were holding in the team picture, or the Indexer or NCDXF flags. Fold it up, put it in your pocket. Cost me $30. I got Tim to approve it. I said, don't ever send me the banner because it costs too much. So I think Steve got one sent to him, and I said, throw it out. We got a flag. I'm bringing the flag. I also was given the flag by the Clipperton DX Club to bring with us. They insist we take a picture with it, but Antonio never likes to. Anyway, there's Hal and I posing near the sign. That's where they gave us a room not a room, a little building. Used to be somebody's house. The National Park Service leases about 500 acres on the top of a mountain and made it a national park after the people no longer live there. But they can't own it. Only a natural American Samoan can own property. So the NPS leases that area, and somebody used to live in there. It has electricity, and it has cold water. The water heater's been taken out. They had an electric water heater, I presume they all do, and they leave them outside because it's never going to get cold down there. 13 degrees south of the equator. You're never going to see below 80. Anyway, they let us use that building. They gave us a fan to use. So there's the obligatory picture. We signed that banner and left it with the radio guy. Then once we were done, the Swains people took it and signed it and left it with the radio guy. And I think somebody else went. Who else went? What island is north? There was an expedition to the South Pacific, but north of there. I can't remember the island. Was it Jarvis? Is it Jarvis Island is out in the South Pacific? I think it was Jarvis. But it was Jarvis that Don Greenbaum went to. And they signed it and left it with him. So we got 3 expeditions signed and dated sitting in the radio station in Pago Pago. And I was the one to say, let's sign it and leave it. We also did, thanks to these folks here, I was asked, can you do a volunteer on the air because I'm a VE, an instructor, and something else. So I'm a volunteer. I'm worth some points. And I said, sure, I could put a week in as W1AW/KH8 from a POTA park. So that's, besides the DX, they get the VOA and the park. Made a lot of people happy as well. And I think that's the goal for people like us who go to these places. It's not just about us, like, oh, look where I'm going, because I don't take advantage of where I'm going. You put me in a box with a radio, I'll stay in the box. Doesn't matter what's around me, because my goal, our goal, is to give you guys that contact, because you may need it. You may need it for a band fill. You may need it for a new one. You may need it for a mode slot. Whatever it is, our goal is to do it for you. It's another reason why I say the faster I can go in my queue rate, the more people will get the contact, because when you could have a 5-minute pileup where, you know, by that I mean 5 minutes of people calling until it slows down, or I could be running 10 a minute, which on American Samoa, Hal watched me from behind looking at the Club Log live stream rate counter on the top of the screen as I'm running a pileup on maybe 15 or 17 meters, and he sees it bouncing between like 9.5 and 10.4 QSOs per minute. And he says, how the hell do you do that? You're a goddamn machine. He used better language. We know what it is, but he says, you're a machine. How do you do it? And I said, Hal, you're a long-time DXer. How many DXpeditions do you go? How often do you get to work a pileup? 1, 2, 3 times a year on a good year? In POTA, we could do it every day because it's growing. Bruce mentioned at the time, when I wrote that bio, we were at 74,000. We just passed 78,000 global members for Parks on the Air. Who in here does POTA? Anyone? A year ago, there would have been 10% of the hands that I just saw. That's how big it's getting. It gives you something to do, keeps the bands alive. It's fun to chase and collect. And, you know, once you've got hundreds of points for your DXCC, what is there? If you're over 300 and on a roll, where else? Well, start chasing POTA. We give an award, I like to say, for every burp and fart. You know, if you talk to me 10 times in a row, you'll get an award. 20, an award. 50, another award. And there are people who print them all out and save them in a book. And I tell you, I don't even know what I have. I know I have 299 confirmed in ARRL because to me, that's the gold standard, is Logbook of the World. That's what means something. I don't need the certificates. I just need to know that I've talked to these places. In my head, I know. My log tells me. But to see it on the LOTW site or to see those circled stars when you pull it into QRZ, that makes me happy. And to see the numbers. I can't seem to crack 300. I've got, I'm going to get Bouvet. I'll tell you why. I'm the pilot for 3Y0K. I'm going to know when and where before anybody does. I'm going to be the guy putting it on the cluster for the first time. And when you see it spotted by me, it's not a pirate, because I'm in satellite contact with Ken or Caesar or Adrian. So that's going to be 300 for me. There you go. But it's almost like cheating. I have the inside track. But why not? People do schedules. I'm not getting in the log for nothing, so we won't have to bicker about that. But I did the voter, and that was kind of fun. And here's the last one, which was the last one at that time, till now, I mean. Last year, I met some folks from the Mediterranean DX Club, and I was invited to go to this African country, Burkina Faso. I knew nothing about it. I said yes, because I'm always saying yes without learning what I'm saying yes to. Because if you say no, you may not get the chance to say yes after the fact. Say yes first, then you can decide. Well, I said yes, and then I learned that it's not really a place where anybody should go, but more so an American, a U.S. citizen. But I thought, you only live once, right? And therefore, you can only die once. If you live once, you die once. Let's have some fun on both sides of that fence. So I said, you know what? I'm going to do it. It's either going to be great, or you're never going to see me again. Or I may be living in some hole in the ground somewhere in Central West Africa. It itself isn't bad, but it's being overtaken or trying to be overtaken by terrorists. ISIS and those Al-Qaeda folks are pushing from the east. This is on West Africa. It's actually really close to where we're going this fall. I think it's just north of Equatorial Guinea, right? Little northeast, one or two countries over. But Equatorial Guinea's not as bad. It's a level 2, so that's safer. But it's got its own issues with corruption, but it's not as dangerous as this one. So I decided I'm going to go. What the hell? State Department said that there's nothing we could do if you go. I couldn't get travel insurance from anybody. They just said, you going there? No. No. Can I pay double? No. You won't come get me? No. We're not going. You want to buy insurance? Buy it. We're not coming. We don't want to risk it. There is travel insurance that says that they'll come and rescue you. They'll send commandos to extract you. But with this, no, because they got to face people like this who've got nothing to lose and have no hesitation using that weapon. So we went. We had a good time. There we are. The team, I think 14 of us from 8 or 9 countries. I can't count. It's in my notes, which he's got. How many does it say countries? 9 countries. I was close. 9 countries. You could easily see me. I get to hold the American flag. I ended up trading, not that I wanted to. I was asked to trade with this guy, Peter, Lima Zulu Mike. He wanted the American flag, and he gave me the German flag. I said, here, go ahead. He said, can you sign the flag for me? I said, no. Why not? I said, it's a crime to deface an American flag. I'll sign the box that it came in. I had the box. I got it from Amazon. What do you don't get from Amazon these days, right? So I said, I'll sign the box. And he understood. He said, I'm sorry, I didn't know. I said, no problem. But as a citizen, yes, but as a Boy Scout, more. I can't deface the flag. I never let it touch the ground. I know how to fold it myself. I could do it in midair. If it's bigger, I might need a table, but I could fold it properly by myself. I know how to raise and lower it alone. So I gave it to him, and I got the German flag, which I treat with the same respect because it's a country's flag, a national flag. So this year, I'm not bringing the flag. You got an American flag? Good. I don't want to bring anything this time. I brought too much crap the last time. But it's still fun to go. So there we are, having fun there. Now we backtrack. That was the end, almost the end. This is the beginning. We all met in Milan, at a host club, Arab Busto something or other. We had a delicious meal. There's people from, the different countries, Romania, Spain, Italy, Belgium, Italy, me, another Italy, Czech Republic. That's Vlad. I can't remember his call. Ends with something X-ray, right? See, I can't remember his call right now. I'm flustered and I'm tired. But there's the usual airport chaos. Those who've been to expeditions recognize that because that's the norm for us. Too much stuff. There's always stuff we don't use, but if you need it, you have. You got to have it when you need it. Like we probably had an extra 2,000 feet of coax, connectors coming from everywhere, all kinds of attachments and hardware and tools, plus our luggage. Once we got there, that's our transportation for some of it. There I am taking my daily medicine with a drink of water as this truck's getting ready to load. Now they drove. It's a good ride, probably about 20 minutes from here to customs and then another 20 minutes from customs to the hotel. We did get an escort to protect us from any thieves, but pretty much they were nice. So that's one of them, transporting what they could. They just threw the luggage on the roof, and they must do it a lot because the roof is dented. So it kind of made a little cradle to sit the luggage in so it wouldn't roll off. That was one of them. That's another thing. We loaded that up and put stuff up there. The locals, very helpful. Again, the Burkina Faso people are real nice. There's some crime on the streets because it is a third world, I don't want to say it too loud, a third world shithole. But the people are nice. They've adapted, they live to the best of their abilities, and they're really helpful. I think they got a tip. This is us at customs. Another Italian, this fella here is, he's a cardiac surgeon. You ever know who you're going to meet? Another fella is, there's another German. He's pretty popular, DL8CC. I can't remember his name now. Mr. Moonbounce, that's the one. Yeah, Emil. Also a nice guy. He's on the team with us for this one too, right? And I did a presentation with him a couple of years ago in Germany. But that's the road. That's as we're passing, that's how people live. Dirt, road is dirt. That ditch you see here, that's their storm drain. It doesn't rain much, a couple of times a year, but when it does, it's torrential. It floods. That ditch is about 5 or 6 feet deep and this wide, and it runs the whole street from the airport to the hotel. But some of them have nice stuff. You see some pretty nice cars, some motorcycles. There's more motorcycles and bicycles than cars. Here we arrived at the hotel trying to get stuff into the gate, or the entryway, but it wasn't happening. So we had to take all that stuff off, and then they could bring that little bus in and unload the rest. Notice the bars on every air conditioner. That opening has huge iron swing gates that have to close. That hotel was built maybe in the 30s or 40s when France occupied. That's a French hotel, and it's a really nice place. Wait till you see the inside. If I had to, what's funny? What?
It doesn't feel like a resort.
No? You don't like that? It looks like a tropical resort. To me, it does. I lived in there. It's a tropical resort. It's rustic, but for where you are, that's luxury. For where you... Compared to that, that's luxury. Pool, heated pool. They let us put antennas wherever we wanted. That's the beautiful spider beams. I love them. I want one. I haven't a place to put it because I have 52 other antennas in my small apartment in Bay Ridge, along with radios and amps for every band in quadruplicate, plus spares and parts, in a small 610 square foot apartment in Bay Ridge, Brooklyn. I have a good view, though, and my shack looks at the Verrazano Bridge. But that's the inside. Here's a couple of the guys enjoying the pool. Notice that in the background. What does that say? Can anybody read it? Pizza. Can you imagine a bunch of Italians travel forever? I'm from Brooklyn, the capital of pizza, and I go there to find a pizza oven. Well, let me tell you, it was pretty good. That's it. I'd put it in I've eaten pizza all over New York and around the world. That's in the top 10 for taste. Texture, it's different. It's very thin. But taste-wise, the sauce, the cheese, the consistency, the crust, that's what pizza's all about. The food was terrific. The service was great. And the nighttime, beautiful. Except at night, there would be a little breeze as the sun goes down and the temperature is changing. A little breeze that would bring the particulates from the fires that the ISIS people were doing a few dozen miles away in the national park, burning cars and tires and houses and people, and we were breathing in the particulates. We should have been out with masks at night. In the day, it was fine because it's just blazing heat, hot as could be. You walk out in the sun, you sweat, but you sit outside. There's no humidity because there's no water. You sit under a shady tree or in the room with the door open with a little ceiling fan, and you're okay. I'm hotter here than I was there, inside or in the shade. But out in the sun, when we were putting the antennas up that first day, we were melting. But it's, you know, it's all for a good reason. There's the obligatory equipment. I was taught never read a PowerPoint that you can read, so read it. You know what we had? We had radios, we had antennas for different bands, lots of cable. We did have the EME antenna, which I think there's a picture of Emil doing that. And Richard, an Irishman, he did the QO100 for the first time, and I think EME for the first time from XT2. So that there's always something new to do. So you read that. There's myself, Eric from Belgium, Daniel from Switzerland, and myself putting up the first spider beam. That tower is a rented space tower. The government rents space from the hotel to put a cell tower. And that behind it is a generator with some fuel, gas, propane, to run the generator to power the transmitters for the cell work. And it didn't bother us at all. We ended up using it to hang a wire. One of the Italian fellas, another doctor, emergency room doctor, but he's small enough to climb it easy. He went up and strung a dipole. We had wires going everywhere, and these antennas, I think we had 4 of these up. Very nice. So that's, the one on the left is the first one that we put up. That's up on a 10-meter high aluminum pole that you buy from Spiderbeam. There was the one on the right we put in the middle of the place. The hotel was big enough to accommodate us and take other local guests. Local people came, and they thought nothing of walking by that. And they're like, oh, excuse me, let's be careful. That chair is covering coax. And they didn't bat an eye. The hotel manager was so accommodating. I'm sure he got a good gratuity for allowing us to put wires and antennas wherever we felt we wanted to. And we had a bunch of them up. There's a nice little hex beam and a 3-element 6 Yagi under it. A couple of guys building the big one, and there's an 80-meter L. That tubular thing you see, that's the water heater there, and on the 2 on the left. Each little hut where we slept, 2 beds in a hut, had its own water heaters that work on sun because it's sun all the time there. So it would heat the pipe, the water in the tubes. It would rise into that horizontal bigger container, and that was our hot water. And it would last overnight because it gets really hot. So that was pretty cool. And they had modern European or Chinese plumbing fixtures because China and Russia are big supporters. The U.S. doesn't do anything with Burkina anymore, but China and Russia support them pretty well. You could see over here is an air conditioning unit, and the outside part of a split system. And the toilet and the hand basin and the shower control, modern. I'm a professional plumber in New York, so I know what's what. Anyway, there's his Yagi He's very happy to do EME. Did pretty good. Made a lot of Qs. There's the satellite dish for the QO100. He did pretty well also. Here's our SSB position with Paco from Spain, Dario, the logistic lead for the team, working SSB. I think Dario fell asleep because we had odd shifts and times. I couldn't get a flag out of Carl from DX World. So because he's always so kind and helps us spread the word and market our expeditions to help garner support from you folks, I said, I'm going to make one. So I took a 11 by 17 and made my own DX World poster. And there's our events. We were close to one of the older presidential compounds. That's a partition wall, electrified barbed wire, noisy as hell. We had them shut it off a little bit, but they really weren't happy shutting it off. But they did let us shut off some sodium light bulbs, which were giving us a hell of a lot of noise. But here's where it all changed. Now, I had something to read in my notes, which I can't read, so I'm going to wing it. But on the sixth day of us being there, after we're doing our 3-hour shifts, every 3-hour shifts daily, every 2 days they'd move 3 hours forward. So I'd be, let's say, from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. for 2 days. Next, it would be 9 to noon, 2 days. Then the next 3-hour shift. We really couldn't sleep or eat well because they kept changing shifts. But they wanted everybody to be able to take advantage of propagation and not have just one person who's always there when the bands are open. But on the sixth day, it changed. And when I say it wasn't a power outage, the word that we gave out when we had our equipment taken by the police to not get in trouble because they monitor social media, we said it was a power outage. The generator went bad. Meanwhile, it's hard power from the city to have a backup generator, but we were getting municipal power and internet, believe it or not. Not very fast, but we had internet. But publicly, we let it be known through Carl from DX World and EC something DX Info, the Spain guy, and Bernie McClellan from the Daily DX. We told them that it was a power issue, and that's why we went off the air. Meanwhile, we had 2 or 3 plainclothes special police come, interrogate us there, make us disconnect and give them all the equipment and coax and everything down to the barrel connectors and headphones and foot pedals. They left the antennas because it was getting too late. First they came and interrogated us. Wanted to see passports and visas. Then they inspected each room. They wanted to inspect our luggage. We learned from the hotel manager that they're looking for narcotics and pornography, which is illegal there. None of us had any of that. They went through my medications. I told them it's prescription. I need to take them every day. They saw that it was, portioned off in those multi-day boxes. They figured, okay. They didn't speak too much to me. French was their language, but 2 of them, the Romanian and one of the Italians, spoke French enough to converse with them. They finally, after a while, they were holding our passports. When somebody takes your passport in a place like that, you get nervous. They gave them back. We had to show our visas, too. They're all digital visas, but something. They gave them back, and they said, you're good to go. We went back to operating, but just as it was getting dark, they came back and said, stop the operation, shut down, disconnect, put everything in this truck. You can't say no because they have the guns. So while we had nothing to do, we sit around and shoot the breeze, tell war stories, eat, watch TV. That was I think a 43-inch Samsung modern smart TV that they watch a lot of sports and a lot of military propaganda. Like, who remembers MTV? Okay, so not too many. YouTube videos promoting stuff. Imagine seeing videos of soldiers, men and women, dancing around, smiling, happy, in camo fatigues, shooting AK-47s into the air like it's a party, trying to recruit people to join the Army. That's their music videos. So they'd play local music to Army people dancing around, shooting each other, having a blast with their weapons. That's that we watch that or soccer or news. Telling stories, drinking some beers, eating the pizza, and my joke is, who'd have thought I'd fly almost 24 hours just to have pizza? And all things considered, it was really good pizza. This gentleman that you see me shaking hands with as Emil looks on in awe, there's his name. I can't say the first name. Maurice Traore happens to be the uncle of the current president who got in by a coup. That country has a coup every year. But this president's so good, and the people like him so much because he's actually doing things and bringing money, lots of money, by using the resources instead of keeping it for himself like the past dictators do, to give to the people and build infrastructure. So they like him. He's lasted 2 years. This might be his third year coming up. So he's doing good. While we're sitting around, we got a visit from this guy, and the guy in the red is the hotel manager. The guy in the black shirt with the stripes is his escort or bodyguard. He's a former ambassador to the U.S., former ambassador to Germany, former ambassador to Russia. He's telling us these stories as he comes to see what we're doing. They heard, when you got Americans or Europeans and an American in country to do this, you become the talk of the town because it's a small community and they want to know what's happening. So he came to see, and we're just sitting around talking. The reason I got up to shake his hand is he said, as he's just talking, that he was the chief scout for 40 years for the Boy Scout, the Sub-Saharan Boy Scout program. He was in charge of it to coordinate it for 40 years straight. As a New York City Boy Scout volunteer, former scout myself, didn't make it to Eagle. Too many other things to do in the 70s. My son did it, but that's another story. I got up to shake his hand and thank him for serving the youth out there because they really need it. Given the conditions they live in, a good youth program that teaches leadership, team building, team development, morals, to become upstanding citizens or the leaders of tomorrow, I respected that, so I got up to shake his hand, and he was happy to start telling me about his stories and how he met some people from Europe where scouting started. And you'll notice how he gives me that patronly handshake like somebody who's absolutely confident would do. And I felt honored to shake his hand, and Emil is like, holy crap. Anyway, meeting him, I think, helped, because once he learned of our plight, he helped out by going to his nephew, who talked to somebody else. We had already been to and from the police station after we gave him the antennas, but they were holding our equipment. They wouldn't give it back. They held it for a whole nother day. So when this guy heard about it and he saw that we're just sitting there frustrated, he said, let me see if I can be of any help to you. That night, the hotel manager gets a call from the police station saying, come get the equipment. We're releasing all the equipment. So the couple of our people scrambled. The hotel procured vehicles, some trucks, and a motorcycle. They got an escort, because riding at night in that area is not the best thing you want to do, especially, well-to-do Europeans. I didn't go anywhere. I didn't leave the compound because as the sole American there, I didn't want to be the target. They're not going to go after a German or an Italian or a Belgian. Nobody hates them. I hate saying it, but nobody hates them like they hate an American, especially nowadays. Well, they went and got the stuff. On the way back, one truck got a flat. They had a spare. That same truck got another flat. They had no spare. Locals found a tire that fit, because they got a lot of the same vehicles. Locals helped them out to change the tire again and get the stuff back, because they wanted us to succeed. Believe it or not, Burkina Faso has an amateur radio club with a call sign, an XT2 call, but they have no equipment. I don't know if Antonio, he's the team leader, I don't know if he left them anything or he promised anything or gave them money, but they were very nice to us too. They came to visit. Because of the snafu, you saw the bus we went on, right? That rickety thing with all the crap on top. The government sent us back in that luxury Russian tour bus. There's TV screens on the back of those seats like the airplanes, cell phone or USB charger ports, air conditioned, reclining. You could sleep in those seats. And all of our stuff is underneath. And we had an escort, and the hotel manager came with us to make sure we got through fine. Getting through the airport, zigging and zagging through barricades with guys, serious, mean, angry people with machine guns, it's a delicate operation. But we made it, thankfully. And here's a coincidence. Everything that happens down there goes through this airport called Addis Ababa in Ethiopia. That's like the central hub of flights in Central or Sub-Saharan Africa. No matter where you're going, because there's not enough people to go to where you're going from civilized places like Milan, they weren't going to fly just 14 of us to Burkina Faso. So we went to Ethiopia, and then from there, people go and come to Burkina. So they fill up a big Airbus A300 or A330 with a few hundred people. Going there, we had heard that the Norwegian guys who were doing Namibia V-55 were going to be there. We wanted to meet them, but we were delayed leaving Milan, so we couldn't make it to meet them. We had to run. Once we got to Ethiopia, we literally ran through the airport like you see on TV, and we got to our flight, and we checked in, went through security again with our hand luggage, and we barely made it onto that flight to get to connect, or else we would have been sitting there till the next day, because it's only one a day going to Burkina Faso. On the way back, without thought, by accident, we bumped into the team from V-55 LA. A bunch of us are sitting in one restaurant. It's a beautiful airport, by the way. All modern, like a Western food court stuff. Even a Burger King is inside there and a Pizza Hut. But one of the fellas, hold on, which one? This guy is in the same restaurant we're in, and we see his shirt. He sees some of us wearing shirts with call signs, and we start talking, and he says, my team is right around the corner. So after we finished, we all went and met and posed for this double team shot of two expeditions meeting in Ethiopia, right? Who'd figure an international team and a bunch of Norwegians would meet in Ethiopia after both doing expeditions? They were on the east side in Namibia, we're on the west side, and we met in the middle. And there you go, and there we take the picture with, and that's, well, you see who we are. So that was pretty cool. Here we are back at Malpensa Airport in Milan, happy to be finally home. We had some espresso in that coffee shop there, Manger, and then we all went our separate ways to catch our connecting flights wherever well, the Italians got rides because they live there, but, all the rest of us went our separate ways to go home. And I was happy it was over because the flights, man, when you fly and stay, you're on 20 hours on airplanes, and then you have to build antennas. That's rough. But when you're exhausted from doing all that for 2.5 weeks, and then you come home, the only thing I wanted to do was just lay down on my bed, or even just in Brooklyn, and I would sleep on the floor in the street, just to be home. So as a kind gesture, I sent a, oh, damn, you got to put some tape or a rubber band on this thing. Hold on. I sent this guy, he's the manager of the club that hosted us, for his wall. I sent him a license plate, again from Amazon, that says Brooklyn, New York. And I signed it, my name and my call sign, with thanks for your hospitality. And I shipped that to him. The reason I had to ship it is because I ordered it in time to go, and Amazon said, you're going to have it on this day. You use Prime, you get it tomorrow. There was a delay. It didn't come until the afternoon of the morning I had to fly to Milan. It arrived in the afternoon. I complained to them. They didn't do anything. It was only like $6, but it cost me close to $50 to ship. But I promised them that I would send that, and I sent my card to put on the wall too. But I told them I'm going to send you that from Brooklyn, New York, because I was the first Brooklyner or New Yorker that they hosted in that club. So I just felt to do a nice gesture like that. But because Amazon was a couple hours late, it cost me $50 to send it there. But I think I made them happy. So here's our stats. We did just over 77,000. We had a good percentage of uniques, which isn't too bad. Everybody wants the fills, whether band and mode. So we got a good portion of unique calls, a little over a quarter. There's the breakdown. I'm not going to read it to you. Our hottest bands, as you could see, were 15, 10, 17. 20 is coming up next. Then some Works, and 40 was rough. 6, we didn't do bad. 80, we did try 60, because some people like it. Not that you can't get points, as David said, but people still want 60. There's, of course, the top mode is always digital now with Expeditions, but we weren't so far behind with the human modes, which is good, and I'm happy to say that phone, my mode, was right there with CW, although there were more CW operators than phone operators. But of course, the FT8 always wins, but it wasn't as big a spread as some other expeditions. There's some out there now. The rebels are out there doing only digital modes, just to give people their wherever location they are. I don't even care, because I don't do it. If they were talking, I would call them, but I'm not going to call Teddy on a digital, and I don't even know how. Anyway, there's our next adventure. One of your members, Steve, and I, and the rest of the Mediterranean Club, we're going to give it a shot on Bioko Island off the coast of Equatorial Guinea this fall. I still don't know why we're not going to take advantage of the CQ Worldwide phone contest. We'll be on planes then, so we can get there on the 29th instead of being there on, let's say, the 25th, so we could take that weekend for the contest and, make a whole nother crowd of people happy. Because, some of us are just the Xers. Then you've got, I only do contests. But there's a lot of, I don't know what word to use, bifunctionals. People who like both. There's a lot of aspects in radio, but contesting and DXing, it's kind of similar. It's high-paced action. You want to get as many as you can. So we're not taking advantage of that. But the next one that I'm going to describe, the VU4 that I may or may not, hopefully may be going to, our team leader for that van is sitting over here somewhere. He's smart. He's taking advantage of the contest because he likes the contest, but he likes to DX. And I'm happy to say that he attributes his newfound love to be the DX to hearing me tell my stories sometime in the past. But he's been a contester and a radio operator and a real nice guy. He is a nice guy. And he put together a trip to Vanuatu last year, and based on that, he wants to make it better. Now he's got that under his belt to manage it and lead it. This one, he's got some pretty good names. Pretty heavy hitters in our DX community have signed up to come. And if I can get my visa, I'm still working on it, but I got some political issues to deal with. I'm going to be there too, but that's going to take advantage of CQ Worldwide Phone, because DX and contesting kind of go together. And also because he's good, he's going to mix some POTA into it. There's neighboring parks. So he'll be prepared with the portable setups with batteries and quick antennas, maybe not a lot of bands, but at least, maybe 17, 20, 40 with some whips and some wire to do some of there's 3 parks on that Bioko Island. So look forward to that in fall of 26. But for this fall, look for this. No park involved. Again, too risky to go to a park there, but that's it. So there's the coming next year. The call isn't, when do you think you'll have the call? Krishna's working on it, And he's making progress? So somebody else might have been mistaken. Okay. So the call sign will be announced soon, and I'm sure Van will let the social media DX venues know the call and start to push it. So keep your hand close to your pocket to support that, because as we know, it takes help to go. They're not cheap, not by a long shot. As I said, that first one I went to, I was told it would be about $8,000 or $9,000 total for the boat, the lodging, get some equipment, the fuel for the boat, the flights. Ended up costing me closer to $16,000 for the Kiska Island. But I don't care. It's fun. I'm a retired New York City plumber, so I made a few bucks in my life. It's been a good field to be in, because none of you could live without clean water in, dirty water out, and heat. I dabbled in the heating portion too, because, well, air conditioning here, not so much heat. I don't know how cold it gets, but it can get cold. You may need to turn your boiler on once a year. But that's it. And there's where Andaman Islands are. It's a beautiful place. Again, it's going to be a lot of flights. If I go, it's probably a day and a half on airplanes total time. And of course, we can't do anything in our DX world without thanking the supporters. So, as Bruce mentioned, support the vendors that support us. The clubs that support us are very well appreciated. You guys are as valuable to us as Northern California, who gives in the tens to hundreds of thousands. But, 200, 500, 1,000 from any club, $10 from an individual, it all helps to go, because otherwise it's going to stop happening. We can't afford to go on our own to all of them. I always say, if I can't afford to go, I'm not going. I can't depend on donors. But think of this, the Bouvet 26, the operator's initial buy-in, just to sit at the table, was $20,000, just to say, I'm in. Then they had to pay to go to meetings in Oslo, Norway, because that's where the team leader is and most of the people. Their flights, their hotels, their food. They have to pay to get to Cape Town, South Africa, to get there when it's time to go. There's going to be unseen expenses between now and then. Because funding has dropped a little bit, the operators were just assessed another $5,000 each. So they're up to $25K just to sit at the table and be dealt the cards. Every time they turn a card over, it's their end, another meeting. There's more meetings to go to in Norway. It's easy for the Europeans, but there's several Americans that have to travel from the U.S. to Oslo and stay there and eat there. And you guys don't pay for that. They do. We pay our way, but there's always a little extra, like the transport, the storage, the equipment that we can't get donated or loaned. So consider that always when you hear about some DX and you say, boy, I hope I get in their log. Throw them a few nickels. It won't hurt. Everything's good. $5, $500, whatever you can afford. And it does a lot of good. And especially now that youth are being brought in. I'm sure many of you heard that Northern California DX Association has committed to paying for kids to go on expeditions. They're paying their full buy-in and their transport, because they need to get people to replace us, because we're not getting younger and it's getting harder and harder. I had the opportunity to go to Bouvet. Ken wanted me to go. Who wouldn't want a 10Q a minute phone operator, right, on that expedition to bang them out? I said, no, I can't do it. I got heart conditions, I got arthritis, I got spine problems. I'm a little bit of a good eater. That's not for me. And if plan A doesn't work and the helicopter breaks, I don't want to swim. I'm not going to swim there. I just stay on the boat. But I turned it down. So he said, will you be our pilot and web guy? And Other stuff, yeah, that's fine. That's the easy part. I do that from the house. But I can't go to that. I can go to nice places where you land in a plane, you get in a vehicle, and you drive to somewhere with a bed and air conditioning. So that's coming next. So please support that if you haven't already. I made this in the past before you guys had done it. I believe you said your club did throw some money at them. You threw a couple of nickels to us for the 3 Charlie 2 coming up. That's very nice also. And with that, I'm finished. Everybody has to go to the restroom. Go ahead. Or do we have any questions? Don't clap. I'm not a celebrity. Do we have any questions? Somebody told me if there's no questions, I did a bad job. I say if there's no questions, I told you everything you need to know. Because I talk too much, right? All right. Thank you. And again, thanks for having me. Happy to have been here. Now, you had a question. You had a question. Go ahead.
Did you take your girlfriend to American Samoa?
No, I want to. She'd love it.
Yes.
I want to take her there and not bring a radio, because if I bring a radio, she's on her own. I won't not use it every waking moment. It's me. I said, if we go somewhere to Caribbean or wherever, Europe, I can't take a radio and I can't be near friends. She wants to come with me to Friedrichshafen, Germany, to say that she was in Zurich, Switzerland, where I land, and then I take train to a ferry to Germany because it's faster than.
This summer, it only takes 3 days to go through Friedrichshafen, and then you can take several weeks.
Oh, I go there, I do my business at the event, at FHN, at the Messe, and then I go home. What else? I have nothing else to do there.
Because she's not with you.
Even if she was, I'd say, we're done, let's leave. I'm not a tourist. I don't tour, I radio. I go there to talk and to see friends, to do business, to, give a chat. And it's hard because a lot of them don't speak English, and I don't speak German at all. I know Gesundheit and Danke, and that's it. So, but they hear me. Europeans speak a lot of languages compared to us who, we speak English. They got English down.
Then you take her to Switzerland, which is beautiful.
We could see from the. Did you sit on the waterfront in Friedrichshafen, where the ferry is? That row of restaurants. You see the Alps across the lake. That fascinates me. That those are the Swiss Alps right there. That's fascinating. I could take the ferry back to Zurich, and then, get a tour. But I don't care. Looking at them over the lake is fine. I saw them. Check mark. Saw the Alps. Go home. I got a flight to catch. I want to take her, and she wants to come. Here's the problem. We have 3 cats at home. One needs medication every day. Another one needs medication once a week. So we can't do it. Am I too long? You need the space? Yes, sir. I got to move. He wants to park here. All right. Thanks a lot. Any questions? My call at Gmail.
Thanks a lot, James.